Hey, what's up everyone? Greg here, and 2018 was a very interesting year for our favorite little fruit company. We saw a number of impressive product redesigns like the new iPad Pro and of course the Apple Watch Series 4. We saw refinements to the iPhone XS and of course the iPhone XS Max and something more colorful with the iPhone XR. We also saw new product categories from Apple like the Apple HomePod, and Apple even surprised us by releasing a refresh version of the MacBook Air and the Mac Mini. The Mac Mini got a refresh in 2018? This is like some alternate universe. It was an interesting year for Apple, of course, with some ups and downs, but I wanted to focus more on the future and talk about what I'm excited for Apple releasing in 2019. And starting off with what I'm most excited to see in 2019 from Apple is the new Apple Watch Series 5. Now, don't expect any major hardware redesign with the Apple Watch Series 5. Apple pretty much nailed it out of the park with the redesign of the Apple Watch Series 4, and I don't think we're going to be seeing a major redesign on this product for at least a couple of years. So in terms of hardware with the Apple Watch Series 5, I think we'll see the obvious things like the new S5 chip, which is going to boost up the processor speed of the Apple Watch. Now, one of the more interesting rumors facing the next generations of Apple Watches was recently leaked in a design patent, and this had to do with a skin sensor that would basically be Touch ID for your skin. So this would work very similar to Touch ID, and it would authenticate you based on the texture of your skin. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to make its way into the Apple Watch Series 5. I sincerely doubt it, but it is one of the rumors that we have on the Apple Watch that is pointing towards a future direction of what they can do, because currently the Apple Watch Series 4 does not have any biometric way to unlock your device. Now, I'm more excited about the health features that the Series 5 is rumored to bring. Apple has been doing some research into doing some glucose monitoring on the Apple Watch. Something like that could be game-changing, especially for people out there living with diabetes. And of course, we saw the Series 4 Apple Watch bring in the ECG reader, so I'm always looking into what kind of health benefits Apple will add with the Series 5 Apple Watch. I also think the Series 5 Apple Watch might be the first Apple Watch that includes an inbuilt sleep tracker. Currently, Apple has not really done anything with sleep tracking. There are some great third-party apps like AutoSleep, but in terms of an inbuilt Apple solution, we haven't really seen anything substantial coming out of Apple. They did acquire a company called Bedit, but they haven't implemented that technology into the Apple Watch at all. What I'm most excited for with the Series 5 Apple Watch is something I've been thinking of a lot recently, and that is that I think it's time for the Apple Watch to become an independent device that is fully independent. I mean, we already have a cellular connection. The watch is fast enough to be set up on its own. Maybe you would have some battery limitations with it always running a cellular service, but I'm sure there is a happy middle ground that Apple could find to kind of enable the cellular service and do some other things with it. And even with the Series 4 Apple Watch, I think it's pretty much good enough to buy on your own, set up on your own, maybe find a way to pair it with an Android device, maybe just try and tie it to cell carrier numbers. There's a lot of health-saving features going into the Apple Watch with the ECG reader, with the rumored glucose monitoring, and with all the other health benefits that Apple is working on. So I really don't like how the current Apple Watches are locked down to iPhones. I would really like to see the Apple Watch expanded out to further customers. And I really hope the Series 5 Apple Watch does a little bit of toe dipping into those areas to be a more independent device that you don't need an iPhone to use. So the next thing I'm excited to see out of Apple in 2019 is the new iPhone, which I guess would be the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 11R. Now, why I'm excited to see this is less to do with the hardware aspects of this phone. We already know a lot of the leaks coming into the iPhone 11, and it doesn't look like there's going to be anything that crazy about it. Based on the current rumors, it looks like Apple is going to include a triple lens camera system. So maybe that'll include a monochrome sensor for better picture quality, or maybe it'll include a wide angle camera. Those seem to be pretty popular. But either way, it's not really too much of a major upgrade for the camera. What I'm more interested to see what they do with the camera is their smart HDR feature. There's millions of iPhone customers taking pictures, so they're going to have a wide data sample to see how well this smart HDR feature is doing in different lighting conditions. I really think with the iPhone 11, you're going to get a big improvement to the smart HDR feature. Apple's also working on an updated true depth sensor for the iPhone 11 and making a smaller notch. The smaller notch might be a little bit improvement in the design language, and the improved enhancement to that front-facing sensor will be interesting to see what they can do with that. Maybe they'll be bringing along the better Face ID that is currently found on the iPad Pros. And of course, it'll be interesting to see if Apple sticks with the Lightning connector, or will this be the year that the iPhone 11 finally moves to USB-C. I'm also super interested to see what they exactly do with the iPhone XR. Is this a one-off shot where Apple needed to, make the prices lower, so they're going to release the iPhone XR? Is this a product that's going to exist in their category? Are they going to keep offering this wide range of iPhones with all these different bright, vibrant colors? And are the prices on the iPhone XS, XS Max, and the iPhone XR going to come down at all? Will they keep the same prices? Will they lower them a bit? Or, God forbid, will they make them even higher than they are? That's what I'm more interested in currently, the kind of strategy they're going to be going forward with future iPhones, and less on those hardware specs. They don't sound too groundbreaking or too innovative to me. Now, another product that's been long in the tooth for Apple is the new updated modular Mac Pro. So this is their desktop tower Macintosh that hasn't been updated since 2013. And we honestly don't know too much about this desktop computer other than it's coming out in 2019 and that it's going to feature a modular design. It'll be interesting to see if Apple can innovate anyway in making it easier to upgrade than a current way that you would open up a desktop PC. Maybe it'll have like drawers and stuff you can pull out, that it's easily accessible to get to the motherboard, or like separate compartments for RAM or storage space. Also interested to see how the design of this looks. Will it be as radical as the 2013 Mac Pro, or will it be a little more tamed down, something more similar to the old cheese grater Mac Pro design? I think the biggest question about this new desktop Mac Pro is whether Apple will take a bold strategy and make this the first Mac with their own ARM chips inside of them. Is it crazy to think that why this redesign took so long is that Apple has been secretly working on an A-series custom Mac Pro chip to put inside of it, maybe have their own custom chip inside of it, have it outperform Intel chips right off the bat, show how great the ARM transition to Mac is going to be? Again, the chances of this happening are probably less than 1%. The current rumors for an ARM transition are 2020, but also at the same time, I find it weird that Apple's going to be releasing this Super Mac Pro, and then a year later, it's going to be transitioning to their own chips, especially considering Pro desktops for Mac aren't updated too often. Maybe it would be a bold statement to just release their own chips inside of it. Now, to accompany that Mac Pro is going to be a brand new Apple display. Apple got out of the display business when they released the 2016 MacBook Pro, and they kind of did a partnership with LG. The monitor behind me is the monitor that they partnered with LG to release, and it's actually a pretty good monitor, but there were some issues with it, and a lot of people don't like the design, and to be quite frank, the Apple monitors that Apple used to release were really nice to look at. Now that the Mac Mini's refreshed, now that we're getting a 2019 Mac Pro desktop, it'll be interesting to see what the new Apple display looks like. Will it be a 27-inch display like the current iMacs? Will it be a 5K display? Will it have a faster 120 Hz refresh rate? Will it include things like True Tone? Will it have an OLED panel as opposed to an LCD panel? I think the biggest rumors for this current display is that it's not going to be a 5-channel, but Apple is working on doing an 8K display. So if it's an 8K display, maybe it'll actually have a bigger screen as opposed to 27 inches. So we might be looking at an Apple display that's 32 inches, maybe even 37 inches, something that would be 8K and still be able to be classified as a Retina display. Now, another rumor out there, another thing to be excited about, is a possibility of the iPad mini being resurrected from the dead. And all the rumors basically say that it's going to keep that old iPad mini design, maybe just include some upgraded internals inside of it. So maybe we'll see the A11 chip or the A12 chip go inside of it. And if Apple is doing this new iPad strategy where that $329 iPad is going to be like $500, maybe this iPad mini will be the new budget option and maybe start at $299. It doesn't look like anything crazy is happening to the iPad mini, but I thought I would just include it in this. Of course, I'm also excited for AirPods 2. It doesn't look like we're getting radical features or a radical redesign with the AirPods 2. It basically looks like we're getting Hey Siri support, noise cancellation, and of course we saw that wireless charging case when AirPower was shown off, so I'm sure maybe that will be included. but I don't know if AirPower is going to ship alongside of it. I actually did a video not too long back about the current rumors looking forward for AirPods 2 and AirPods 3, and I'll include that video up here in case you want some more details. And finally, I think the things I'm most excited to see out of Apple this year don't have anything to do with hardware. I'm more interested to see what Apple will be doing with iOS 13 and macOS, whatever they wind up calling it. So it's no secret that iOS 12 was kind of changed at the last minute to focus more on software optimization and getting rid of a lot of bugs. So there weren't too many new features for iOS 12, but iOS 13 is supposed to be a major redesign of what we know about iOS. The current rumors talk a lot about a major home screen redesign. So is that going to include more customization? Is that finally going to include a dark mode? Is iOS going to include widgets on the home screen? Is it going to do something different with Springboard? There's just a lot of questions about iOS 13 that we really don't know the answers to yet, and I'm really interested to see what it looks like, especially on the iPad Pro, where iOS 13 was rumored to have the most kind of change. So will we see the iPad kind of deviate away more from the iPhone, kind of get its own iPad OS? So maybe we'll see things like windowed apps for the iPad Pro. Maybe we'll see that USB-C port on the iPad Pro kind of do more things like work for external hard drives, have expanded monitor support, maybe hook up to a monitor and kind of change the interface, maybe even use a keyboard and mouse while you're hooked up to a monitor. That's something I thought that they would be doing with that USB-C port. Now, even more interesting is what is Apple gonna do with the new version of macOS? Again, this is another area where we kind of don't know a lot about the next version of macOS. The only thing we know for sure is that Apple has been working on its Marzipan apps. These are the apps that they included with macOS Mojave. So the Stocks app, the Home app, the News app, those were all apps that were used making iOS code. So basically kind of the same versions that you would find on the iPad. And Apple said they would be opening that up to third-party developers with the next version of macOS. So the next version of macOS might include some really popular iPhone and iPad apps, and maybe you could buy it once on iPhone, iPad, and also have it on your Mac. We could see iOS and Mac apps running together, or maybe even seeing Macs go more towards an iOS style with app development. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what is going to happen with iOS and macOS in 2019. Okay, and that is what I'm excited to see Apple do in 2019. Let me know in the comments below, what are you most excited for Apple to do in 2019? And as always, if you like the video, make sure you guys give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.